Here.
Donna Hopkins.
Present.
Paul Polak. Jorge Sanchez Salazar.
Present.
Sally Cairns. David McKenna. David Mills, he said he was going to be a little late. Kathy Sullivan Bradley. Pastor Douglas Voigt. Yes, I see you waving. Lieutenant Rob Sullivan. Eric Crane. And Eileen Page. Okay.
I am present. I just got an email from Sally. She will be joining us shortly.
Sure, and I do see David McKenna.
I'm here.
Perfect. Thank you. This open meeting of the Danvers Human Rights and Inclusion Committee is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus. In order to mitigate the transmission of the COVID-19 virus, we have been advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public gathering, and as such, the governor's orders suspend the requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. Further, all members of public bodies are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The order, which can be posted with agenda material for this meeting, allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberation of the meeting. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will not feature public comment. For this meeting, the Danvers Human Rights and Inclusion Committee is convening remotely via the WebEx Act, as posted on the town's website identifying how the public can join. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and that some attendees are participating by video conference. Accordingly, please be aware that other folks may be able to see you, and take care not to screen share your computer. Anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording. All supporting material that have been provided members of this body are available on the town website unless otherwise noted. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda unless I noted otherwise. We are now turning to the second item on the agenda. Before we do so, permit me to cover some ground rules for effective and clear conduct of our business and to ensure accurate minutes for this meeting. I will introduce each speaker on the agenda. After they conclude their remarks, I will go down the line of members, inviting each by name to provide any comments, questions, or motions. Please hold until your name is called. Further, please remember to mute your phone or computer when you are not speaking. Please remember to speak clearly and in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. For any response, please wait until I yield the floor to you and state your name before speaking. If members wish to engage in colloquy with other members, please do so through myself, taking care to identify yourself. Finally, each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted by roll call vote. So we have the minutes from August 20th, 2020 and September 2nd, 2020. Any motion to approve the minutes?
So if somebody wants to raise their hand, I'll unmute you. Okay.
I will move the minutes.
Second.
Second.
So David McKenna moved the minutes, second by Bob Gamer. Any discussions? No discussions? Okay. I would do a roll call vote for the approval of the minutes. Charles Desmond.
Yes.
Bob Gamer.
Yes.
Bill Graham.
Yes.
John Hopkins.
Approved.
Jorge Sanchez Salazar.
Yay.
David McKenna.
Yes.
And I am a yes as well. So the minutes, and Paul Pollack.
I don't think Paul has sound right now.
He's having some sound issue. Okay. So the minutes from August 20, 2020 and September 2nd, 2020 are approved as presented. I will now move to the next item on the agenda, the third item on the agenda, which is the website and the social media management for our committee. Eileen. can you-
Yes. So Dee and I spoke about this a bit. Two items. The first one is a little more simple than the second. We, several meetings ago, I want to say maybe our June meeting, had discussed whether the committee would like to renew the partnership with Mark Mead with his website maintenance and, pay a retainer and have him continue to upkeep the website. Or they could morph over to the town website and have a page on the town website, similar to what a lot of other committees have. So we just need sort of a definitive answer from the committee on that, so we can know how to proceed. If you'd like to renew, Mark, or if you'd like Dee and Jen to start the process of moving over to the town website.
Yeah, so that will be for the website.
Yep. And then the second item that we had talked about, actually, I had another conversation with Jen this afternoon, and I would like to suggest the committee to consider perhaps forming a temporary subcommittee to talk about social media and the social media accounts of the committee and how they'll be used. And Jen would be willing to meet with the committee to kind of figure out how the committee can best use social media and make sure that it's in line with the town's social media policy. So that might be something to consider, forming a subcommittee that would meet with Jen Breaker for that.
Okay. So I will start as far as the website is concerned. My recommendation is that we keep the contact with Mark Mead. I think that's his name.
Mark
And
Mead Jones, I think, is his full name. I keep
yes,
Mead, but
and we can also have the link to our committee website onto the town website. But then we still have him as someone who can continue to maintain our website. I'll go down the line of members and see if anybody has any comments or suggestions. I'll start by Charles Desmond.
I have no comments with regards to this matter. The only question I would raise with regards to the public at large, does the public, I mean, what, do we have any data on how many people from the town actually log on to the public webpage?
I know you can. Most websites you're able to tell those statistics. I think we'd probably have to check in with Mark. He might be able to assist us in finding out how often the website is visited. Sally might even have some information. She's sort of been in contact with him over the years about it, so I think that might be a question for Mark.
So for me personally, I'd like to hear the data with regards to both websites. There's this Google Analytics that will tell us how many people log on to the independent website, how many people log on to the town website, and then let's see what's being actually used by the public. And then I would be able to make a responsible, thoughtful response.
Thank you. Bob?
I agree with Charlie. I think we need a base of numbers here on which to make a judgment. So I withhold comment. I have to see those numbers or making a recommendation.
And Bill Graham?
Agree with the others as to make a decision. I will say I worked with Mark on the Rail Trail Advisory Board, and he is very easy to work with and will do a good job for us.
Donna Hopkins?
I guess my only question is, what does it cost us to run our own website? And I'd be curious to get the same information that Charles is looking for before we make a decision. And I guess if we're going to put together a committee, I wouldn't mind sitting on that.
So I actually in front of me, if you don't mind, Dee, I'll share that. So it sounds like the committee pays basically a retainer, and Mark draws from that as he does work. They pay for, let's see, this invoice is for $1,006.80. By paying up front, there is actually a savings, and I think it's about $200. I can't seem to find that number right now. And my understanding is it actually took, I can't remember the exact number. I'd have to check in with Sally. But I believe it took 3 years to go through the first retainer of $1,000, about $1,000.
Okay.
But I would have to check with Sally on those numbers when she gets here.
Okay, thank you. Jorge Sanchez Salazar?
Yeah, I have no comment. Everyone else seems to have covered the bases.
Thank you. David McKenna?
I've got nothing to add at this time.
Okay, thank you. I'll go to our liaison, Lieutenant Rob Sullivan.
Just from what I know about our website at the police station, we have both. We have a website as well as the Facebook and Instagram feeds. So the people that do that for us find it a little bit easier to have the website present just so people can find you. That's usually their first, one of the first things that comes up in the Google search. But for individual members, if people on the committee wanted to post pictures or information about events, that's difficult to do to a website, but it's pretty simple to do through Facebook or Instagram. So what we do on our end is most of our updates are done through the social media platforms that then link to our website in a smaller version. So whether you keep the private one you have now or the town's version, you might want to consider linking those to Facebook or Instagram profiles, just so like pictures from our events or something like that could be easily posted.
Thank you. Eric Kane?
I know I worked with Mark in terms of the Family Festival. I know he does a nice job. I wouldn't say I have any strong feelings or recommendations either way for you.
Thank you. Pastor Douglas Voigt?
I think the bases have been covered.
The Honorable David Mills? I see him there.
I guess I've been. I'm not a voting member, and so I have nothing to add. It sounds all sensible to me. Thank you for the comment, but I have nothing to add.
Thank you. So, Eileen, does that mean that we need to get some more information about the data and then have the social media subcommittee come up with some recommendation? Is that what we should do?
I mean, it's, I think it's a good idea. I think it's a great point to let's look at, kind of traffic the website is getting. We can certainly reach out to Mark, if you wanted to form a subcommittee to talk about the website and social media, the subcommittee could certainly do that too. That might be a good task.
Okay.
I think it does make sense to get some data before making a decision.
I know Donna said she can help on there. Anybody else? Just raise your hand. So I have Bob Gamer. Okay, so I'll have Bob Gamer and Donna. You guys can work with Eileen into getting the information from Mark and try to come up with some recommendations as far as what to do with the website and how to navigate the social media.
Mm-hmm.
That's perfect.
Yeah, and like I mentioned, we'll also be working, closely with Jen Breaker to make sure everything that the subcommittee does is going to be in compliance with the town's social media policy.
Perfect.
So I'll send out a copy of the social media policy as well for people to review.
Okay. Thank you. I will now move to the fourth item on the agenda, which is the lawn sign proposal. I'll pass it on to either Donna or Bob. Let's do Donna first.
Hi, Donna.
Thanks, Eileen. I know I was just about to do it. We keep hitting each other. Yeah, I was approached by a couple of people, including David Mills, about coming up with some type of a yard sign. And there's been a couple of groups that have gotten very active in Danvers lately because it does seem like there have been some issues, everybody's well aware of what went on in town with the Blue Lives Matter flag, not what the police think it represents, but the symbolism. And the town was feeling, people I've spoken with, very dejected almost and sad. And one of the concepts that came up was coming up with a yard sign, which we kind of got together a small group, and David Mills was part of it. And some people out in the community have been part of it. And we've come up with a couple of designs that I'd like to run through the group. we have a very limited group. I mean, we have a very limited budget with this, with our committee here. We don't have a lot of money that we can pull from to buy signs. So I guess, David, if you can help me out here too. I'm not sure if the purpose tonight is, I guess I want to present some images to you and see what you think of them as far as putting them up in the community. So Eileen, were you able to send that sign that people got the images? I can't hear you.
Sorry. David had sent me a couple pictures actually that were included in the meeting packet that I sent out. I know you had some trouble with your Adobe.
I didn't get the packet, guys, because for some reason my computer couldn't open it. I'm having issues with what Eileen's sending out. So I'm not sure what image you saw, but what we've come up with is kind of a final version. I'm just going to show you on my phone here real quick. Is this. Can you all, can everybody see that? So across the top, it says hate has no home here, and then unity in our community. And then at the bottom, we are Danvers. And we're looking at coming up with these signs, and it's going to be about $700 to order 250 of them. So I don't know. I don't know what the committee feels about doing this. I know we're having a contest right now for bumper stickers, which is something very different. We wanted to get something up sooner and quicker out in the community. I think there's a need for it. And what I'm hearing is that we'll have no problem selling or giving out the 200, at least 200 signs right off the bat. What does the committee feel about this? Does anyone have any ideas they want to share?
So maybe I should go down. Let me just, so is Eileen, you can help me here. Is the committee to decide if we want those signs or if we should purchase them or just see if that's...
That would certainly be a committee decision. It would, purchasing the signs would come out of committee funds, obviously. So that would certainly be a committee decision.
And we'll be selling them to the residents, or we'll be distributing them?
We can do it a couple of different ways. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Beverly sold it and did it as a big fundraiser, and they were very successful with it. I've been told we could easily sell 100 to 200 signs probably tomorrow if we were to order these. I don't know, because this kind of came up last minute and we hadn't really budgeted for it. I don't know if this is something even that the committee wants to get involved in. I think we have people that can fund it to buy them if people on the committee have offered, if the group doesn't want to do it. So I guess I'm kind of wondering what the group feels about it.
Okay, I'll go down the line of members in case you have any questions or comments. I'll start by Charles Desmond.
Well, I've got mixed emotions only because I'm not understanding completely what's the theory of action behind the signs. Although I think it's a very cute looking sign, but so I guess it's a sign of community solidarity is around recognizing that we are a united community and that this sign could be could somehow or another validate that. But 250 signs in a community the size of this doesn't seem like a very big platform to me. So I'd like to hear more about folks who've thought about this more than I have.
Okay. Thank you. Bob Gamer, did we lose Bob? Okay,
it looks like we just lost his video. I think yes.
And can I address Charles's question just real quick? I think someone initially is buying the first round of signs, either 200 or 250 as a first round. and seeing what kind of interest we had. I mean, Beverly sold significantly more. I can get the exact numbers from them. I don't have them. But yes, more of a feeling of solidarity, unity, that we all want to work together, that we are one community, and a sense of belonging and inclusion.
Bob Gamer.
Complaints this week with the death of Ruth Bader Ginsburg, with the direction the Supreme Court is going to take, with the verdict in the Breonna Taylor case. If there is any time for stability, now is that time. I fully support this sign. We need to imprint a message out there, and this is one way. So I fully support, getting that sign up. 250 is better than silence.
Thank you. Bill.
People do some really good work and come up with a good sign, and I'm all for starting out with the 250. I think we could sell them very quickly.
David McKenna.
Yeah, I think you did a good job putting that sign together. It's a good message, and the graphics are good. And yeah, we got to get that message out there. Things seem to have quieted down a little bit in town after those dueling rallies, but I think it's still simmering below the surface. So I think if we can get a message out there, it's good.
Okay, thank you. Jorge Sanchez Salazar.
Yeah, I think it's a nice sign. I have a question for Donna, if she has any data from Beverly about how many they sold, how much they sold them for, that sort of thing. That was my question.
Yeah.
Donna, any idea?
Unfortunately, I don't have that information. We haven't been successful in getting them to call us back. We reached out to them, some people in the community and myself, just to make sure. I'm sorry, there's feedback. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
All right. Unfortunately, because they kind of came up with theirs, I've got a picture of their sign as well that I can share with you. I didn't want them to feel like we were stepping on toes. They have not gotten back with us. We've made several attempts to call. Their sign is very different than ours. Can you see that? It simply is unity in the community. And what we found out when we did some research, that unity in the community are all kinds of things. There's like 100 things like that. There must be 20, 30 different towns. If you Google unity in our community, that come up. A lot of towns are using this. There's no copyright on it. It seems to be just something a lot of communities are using. So I have not been successful in getting them to call me back to get that data. I can try some more, but I know they've got a lot of them out there. And I know the first round that they bought, they sold out of and reordered. They did it as a fundraiser that was fairly successful from what I heard, but I don't have any data yet.
Donna, I have a contact over there, Leah, who I don't think she's there, but she's very involved, that I can reach out and pass your information on to her. But they raised a couple $1,000s, I believe, and they actually sent a couple of their city council members to I forget what it was exactly, but some kind of diversity awareness training with the funds that they raised.
Do you know what they sold them for?
I used to. I would have to talk to Leah again. We spoke back in, it was like May, which seems like a decade ago now. But I will forward her your information, or I'll forward you her information right there. Because they were really successful, and they were very helpful when I talked to them.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Sally Cares. I think I spotted Sally there.
Hi, I apologize for my lateness. I had a wait that went, a longer wait than I expected at the wait. And I'm sorry, I can't open the packet, but I'm sure I'm in agreement with um, folks who are expressing approval of getting a quantity of signs. Yeah, I can't, I think it's because I don't have Acrobat. I mean, it won't let me open. So I don't know, can someone hold up a cell phone image of it or?
Here it is. I'm not even sure if this is one everyone got in the packet, because again, there was a woman in the community who's a graphic designer, and she said she'd help me with them, and she did. So I'm not, why is this not working? Phone. I'm sorry, I switched from Droid to an iPhone. I'm not super happy, and I don't know how to work it yet. So bear with me. Can everybody see this?
Certainly bright and
So it says, hate has no home here. Unity in our community, and it's at the bottom, we are Danvers.
Very nice. Now, this is separate from the bumper sticker.
It's just very separate from the bump, because we're not looking, this isn't a contest. We just want to put these out there now.
Right. Okay.
And this would be more of a fundraiser. The bumper stickers maybe when we get that going. They're just separate things. They just happen to come around at the same time because of everything that went on in Danvers. And the people I've talked to see this as more of a coming together thing. They want to feel like they're part of the community and not separate from it. And they want to be able to put something out that can draw people together and that's more inclusive. And that is the only other thing. I don't mind taking money for the signs if we can make it very reasonable, but I do want them to be available for people that can't afford them. So I'd rather do it more on a suggestion basis, like, I don't know, $10 a sign for the sign and the stake. We would actually make money on it, just not much. But I don't see this I don't see this so much as a fundraiser as I do a community, a coming together of the community to do something that people feel will be beneficial for the community, or feel better about the community, or feel safer in the community.
I think we're going to hear from our liaison if they have any questions or comments. I'll start by Lieutenant Rob Sullivan.
Yeah, I love the idea of the yard signs. I said the same thing at the last meeting, and I think a couple of times I've shown the same thing, holding my iPhone up, showing pictures of some of the signs that were displayed at storefronts that I thought were really interesting. I like the design. I like the unity in the community. I really like that you added that hate has no home here, because I think those are two important messages to join. Not just that we're Danvers, we're a community, yay, we're all together, but specifically that hate has no place to live here in Danvers. And to Charles's point, that 200 signs off the bat, not a heck of a lot of real estate covered in Danvers. I know it's more money, but one of the things that could be considered is looking into having that same yard sign made into a banner. There are banner posts downtown Danvers. One's at the rail trail crossing. I believe the other one's a little bit further down on High Street. You could actually have the same sign made into a banner, and maybe even some information on it for the committee's website, or whoever people could get in touch to purchase their own for their house.
Thank you. Eddie Kane.
Thank you, Dee. As a non-voting member, I certainly wouldn't presume to comment on the costs or that sort of thing. The sign looks very nice, and I think the key is that the committee should do something, because we got through the two rallies on the town hall lawn, but there are competing Facebook pages out there now, and there's a lot of ugliness in social media right now, tremendous amount really. And so anything that we can do to send a message of unity and foster a message of unity, I think is a good thing.
Please.
I think my first impression was, first off, I really like the sign. The first thing that kind of struck me was that sometimes hate can be a very, very charged word. And so the sign in itself, when we're trying to strike unity, sometimes hate can be just kind of land really hard. And so I was thinking about that line and maybe hope resides here and then go into the unity phrase rather than hate being the first word of this sign that's falling on people's ears. Because there's something that we're trying to do with optimism with the sign. And I just throw that out as something to think about rather than a sign charged with that first very, very loaded word of hate. Because it was just something that kind of struck me. I just kind of lift that up as something to think about. So hope resides here, unity in the community, rather than hate doesn't reside here or something of that sort. So it was just something that struck me. I just wanted to share it with the group, that's all. But I certainly love the idea of the sign. I think that it certainly has its place to bring a message to the community.
Thank you. Before I pass it on to David Mill, Sally, you had a question?
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Oh, okay. Sure, David, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. Thank you, Dee. Thank you all for being here with me tonight. You help to make Danvers a safe and holy place. And it is very, very heartwarming to me that we are together. This sign thing, last weekend or the weekend before, I came upon a sign in a different community. And I said, boy, that really struck me. So I took a picture of it and sent it to a couple of friends, including Donna. And so Donna kind of grabbed a hold of the concept and kind of took responsibility for coming up with a design, looking for prices, talking about ways of distributing it, let people have ownership in it by chipping in if they want, by making the signs available to anybody who wants one who can't afford to chip in. I love the sign exactly as it's. Some beautiful young people helped Donna do that. And so I was hoping that this could be adopted by the committee as a committee project. This be a sign being put out by the Human Rights and Inclusion Committee. And I was also hoping that the committee could come up with the initial $750 or whatever it would take to get 250 of the signs. And then we've got plenty of talent here to try to make other business. But anyway, love the sign. I think Donna has done a superb job coordinating this. I hope it can be a sign by the action of our committee. And I have offered, actually, I shouldn't tell you this, but Donna and I offered to split the cost and pay myself. I don't want to do that. I do a lot of stuff and I make a lot of contributions and I'm glad to do this, but I don't think that Donna and I should be funding this. I think it should be a committee project. And so, in any event, that's enough for me. I think it's a great design. I think we should do it. I think if we can, we should do it as a committee. And thank you for listening to me.
Sally, did you have a question? Or comments?
No, although it's great that Donna has and folks have come up with this. I know, I'm sure that there was some group work that went into it. I'm just wondering how those of you who did that work, how do you feel about what Doug has suggested? Because it makes sense to me that hope, I like the way you phrased it, Doug, you know, hope lands easier than the hate word. Is that something that you feel amenable to, or are you at a place where you're down the road, you've done this?
I just think, just
from my perspective and the people that I've talked with out in the community, I think it needs to be stronger than something like hope, because we've had hope for a long time and we need more than that. And if hate's not the first word, then maybe coming up with something like no place for hate, which was really big a while ago. That's been around for a while. I can understand what Doug's saying about hate being the first word. That we took off the sign that David saw down in Provincetown. It was much smaller. It wasn't the first thing you saw, but we thought the message, more than unity in the community, we want it to be a safe place. And we're not going to tolerate any kind of hate in our community. And so, I mean, maybe we can change that sentence, but I think it has to be a little stronger than just we hope that we can not have hate. Or so I know he doesn't even want hate on it, Doug, from what I'm understanding. But I think it needs to be a little stronger message than something about hope.
And Donna, I certainly understand the strength of the message, and I really have no problem with the sign as it is. You know, and I certainly know what is happening in the town and the necessity for that strength. I'm just raising it up to say, hey, is there something else that we want to look at as an alternative and just as a perspective? That's all. And so if we move with it the way it is, and I certainly am hearing what you're saying, I'm perfectly fine with that. I was just raising it up as a question. That's all.
No, and I appreciate that. I really do. I don't know, David. How do you feel, David?
I respect everything that Doug says because I try to live that way. But I think the language that is on the sign is appropriate for us now. And I hope that people on the committee will find it comfortable to adopt that sign as presented to be the project and the product of the HRIC committee. I think it's time we ought to get it done. And I also respect very much what Doug has said. But I think the language is appropriate. We thought about it a lot, and I think it's good the way it is.
Sally, go ahead.
She's still muted.
Yep. So
Okay.
in terms of the money, I think that a majority of the subcommittee, the Friends Committee, it's kind of a formality. It just would take a vote, but I know that the Friends account is quite healthy. I think it's in the 7,200 range. Yeah. So I think maybe a little bit lower, but $700 to foot the outlay to get these produced is certainly something the Friends account could handle. And as I said, I think the three people, it's David, Charlie, and I think. So as a matter of record keeping. So yeah, we could move right along with it tonight. Oh, okay. So do we need a motion? And then I guess my one final question, if the board is going to do this then, or the commission, the Friends, do you want to see them sold so we can keep contributing to the fund to order more?
So before I pass it on to Bill, we'll have a vote to approve the sign as presented. Then we're going to adjourn the meeting for a few minutes so that the Friends can approve the funds. And then we will reconvene and talk about, or do you want to talk about how we distribute it first? Eileen, procedurally.
I apologize. So I've been talking to Jen. I guess we're not receiving public comments. There's an issue with our lines, so I'm just working on getting that going. So yes, if I'm trying to think, I don't believe the Friends require a public meeting notice. So we could take a recess to discuss funds and then come back on to take a vote. Is everybody here be a part of the Friends group? I'm sorry, I don't know the exact date. Yes, okay. D, I think that is okay if we do that then.
Okay. So I will ask that we take a 5-minute recess. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. And now I will convene the meeting of the Friends. I think, Sally, you said it was you, David McKenna, Charlie Desmond, and I think I'm a member of the Friend as well. So Charlie, David, and Sally. Could we,
So,
yes.
So I guess we need a motion.
No, I think we can just call a recess. Correct?
As opposed to, I think D has called a recess.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so now those who are members of the Friends of the Danvers Committee for Human Rights and Inclusion are all here. It's fine. Others are here as well, right? And so I think now it's a matter of the Friends is meeting and accepting a motion to, we do it in money orders. So it would be approved an expenditure for the sign that is to be made available to members of the public with an invited contribution. Is that how you've said you're going to do it? And people, Friends Committee should vote on that. So we would be authorized to then expend a certain amount of money. Did someone say $700?
$750.
$750 for 200 signs to be distributed to members of the community at cost or a contribution. I guess that part needs to be clarified.
Think, yeah, can we come back to that? Can we authorize the funds and let's get the process started? And then we'll see what the exact cost is, because I'll take whatever money we get and see how many signs and posts we can get with that for our initial outlay. And then we can see what we want to sell them for to maybe recoup and buy more.
Right, and if money goes into, if there is a suggested contribution or people want to, it's probably suggested contribution is probably the way to go. And then there is the matter of deposits on our little chug-along bank account that went from a passbook to, it's not a fancy setup. It's me going and getting money orders. I think we could work that part out. Right, Charlie?
Yes, I think we could.
Okay.
And David McKenna?
David, you with us?
Yeah, I think we should get the signs moving.
Okay.
Perfect. So can someone make a motion then to allow the funds from the Friends? Okay, Sally.
Move to have the Friends approve an expenditure for signage as designed by the HRIC committee.
Okay.
In the amount of $750.
Thank you. In a second. Charlie second. Okay. So David McKenna, what's your vote?
Aye.
Charlie Desmond.
I seconded the motion and I approved the vote.
Thank you. Sally Cairns.
Made the motion, approved the vote. Thank you.
And I am an aye as well. So I will now go ahead and dissolve the meeting for the Friends of the Human Rights and Inclusion Committee.
One second.
Nice seeing you all.
Thank you.
Okay.
Now we will reconvene. I call the meeting of the Human Rights and Inclusion Committee back to order. So we're going to reconvene the meeting for the Human Rights and Inclusion Committee. And we were discussing the lawn signs. So Eileen, I mean, do we take a vote to approve the lawn sign? Sally, is that what we do? Then you're gonna, perfect. So I'll need a motion to approve the, I don't know if I would say manufacturing or I'll need someone to make a motion so that we can approve the design that was presented to be made and given to the public. So, okay, Bill Graham. Bill Graham, are you muted?
Motion to approve the sign, the design.
Thank you. Any second? Sally?
Second.
Thank you. Any further discussions? Okay, no discussions. So I'll do a roll call vote. Charlie Desmond?
Yes.
Bob Gamer? Bob Gamer?
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Bill Graham?
Approve.
Donna Hopkins?
Approve.
Sally Cairns?
Approve.
David McKenna?
Approve.
Hayston Tess Salazar?
Approve.
And I am approve. So we did approve the lawn sign, and Donna will be continuing to work with Eileen as far as the logistic of how to make it and with the company that will be making it. Thank you. I'll now move to the item number 5 on the agenda, which is the bumper sticker subcommittee updates. Who is taking that? Bob Gamer, any update on the subcommittee?
Yeah, I defer to Wilson. He would really be more on top of the details.
Well, our committee met, and I think we pretty much have finalized questions that we've raised at our last meeting as to cost and size. And I would like to turn over to Eileen for the extra recommendation, because I think she took all the minutes and notes on those things. But as a subcommittee, we pretty much figured out what we want and can present that to you for information tonight.
Thank you. Did you say Eileen? Is that what you said, Bill?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't hear my name in that. I apologize.
Okay.
So Dee, if you don't mind, I'm going to make a quick announcement. I'm actually getting a call right now, I think, from our public. So if you'll excuse me for 1 second. I apologize. So we had some issues with the public comment line with people calling and actually getting the Conservation Commission instead of us. So for anyone watching, we have sorted it out. You can still call for public comment. 978-777-0001 and extension 2. And then you'll just have to pick the option to call into our meeting. And those calls will be forwarded to my cell phone. So if I have to hop off and answer them, I apologize. But anyways, subcommittee. We are in good shape to launch on October 1st. We have a big list of art teachers and visual design teachers at a ton of various schools that we're going to be contacting. We've got posters to businesses around town to advertise in that way. And we've put together an extensive meeting packet, entry packet for the students participating, outlining the purpose of the contest, what we're looking for, the deadlines for the contest, the prize for the contest, as well as the dimensions. So what we identified as the biggest and the most cost effective for us is a oval shaped bumper sticker that is 6 by 4 inches. And we think that's going to give us some really good visualization in the community. You know, it's a bumper sticker. Hopefully it will be very colorful. And so that we're in good. We had a reporter actually reach out to us that David Mills was kind enough to speak to from Wicked Local Danvers. That's going to be doing an article on the contest. That'll get us some great publicity. As far as the production of the bumper stickers go, we have a company identified and a cost. And let me see if I can pull up that number really quickly. But it was relatively low for the amount of bumper stickers. I don't know if anybody on the subcommittee happens to remember it off the top of their head. Bob?
Okay, go ahead, Bob.
I have 6 by 4, 200 for $170.
Perfect.
My notes.
Yeah, let me take a look just to confirm that. I apologize for not having it up ready to go. So let's see. The one we wanted is, yep, we can do 200 for $170. We can actually go up to 500 for $220. So I think it actually ended up being a little less expensive than we anticipated going into it. So, you know, as we get closer to November 13th, which is when the the deadline for submission is noon on Friday, November 13th, we will meet again to talk more about how we're going to print, how many we're going to print, and how they'll be distributed or sold or whatever. So that's still a work in progress. But as far as advertising to students goes, and you know, having a plan for how to submit designs, we are in good shape. Bill, did you want to add something?
Yes, I believe we had decided on a 5-person judging team with the 3 on our subcommittees and 2 other people. Was our recommendation to this committee.
Yes. So we talked about it a little bit at the last meeting. We've decided that the initial first round of judging will be the 3 members of the subcommittee, so Donna, Bob, and Bill. And then we are going to invite 2 members of the community in. We've identified, I think, 5 people that we think, you know, are either kind of have their finger on the pulse of, you know, art in the community, or work with certain groups within the community, you know, the high school, middle school, things like that. I'm still working on finalizing who that's going to be exactly. I wanted to get a little input from Jen too, and but I will have an answer on that shortly on who those other 2 members will be. Go ahead, Bill.
Yes, Bill.
The middle school art teachers offered to be one of those people if we choose to ask him.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that? I'm a little
Jeff
feedback here.
Surratt,
Let me mute.
who was the art teacher at the middle school and has done the peace poster contest for Lions Club, has offered to serve as one of the judges if we want him.
Okay, great. Yeah, I'll look into that for sure. Subcommittee, am I leaving anything out that you can think of that we haven't addressed yet?
Yeah, I think when we heard the cost difference between 200 and 500, I think our subcommittee was recommending getting the 500 because it wasn't that much more money.
Right. Yeah, Donna or Bob, is there anything else you'd like to add? Oh, Bob, hang on one sec. You're on mute. There you go.
Yeah, Bill was correct in that. Get it
Okay.
to 500.
Perfect. Any questions from the
I will go down the list, and I might actually have a recommendation for someone as well, Eileen,
Okay.
To be a judge. Let me just go down the list of members and see if anyone has any. Are you done?
I am, yes.
So Charles Desmond,
It's great. Continue on with work.
thank you. Donna Hopkins,
No comment. No questions.
Sally Cairns,
Dollars.
I think Sally was muted. Sally, can you repeat that?
Yes, just curious, is it, we're talking 500 stickers or $500?
500 stickers for
For,
about $200.
David McKenna,
I'm sorry, I had to take another message. What are we voting on?
we are not voting. We're just asking if you have any comments about the bumper sticker.
No, I think it's good. We got to get that program going, and I think it's a good plan.
Thank you. Jorge Sanchez Salazar,
I think we should move forward. I did have one question, just, curiosity. Are these going to be adhesive back stickers or are they static? Just wondering. That's all. Thanks.
They are a weather resistant vinyl that has a sticky back to it. So they're meant to be outdoor bumper stickers.
Okay, perfect. I think that was everyone. We might have some comments or suggestions from our liaison, Lieutenant Rob Sullivan. I know we've seen your phone before with the signs.
No questions, and I don't have any signs to show right now.
Eric Crane.
There we go, Eric.
Thanks. I have no comments. I think that sounds great.
Thank you. Pastor Douglas Voigt.
Just thank you to the subcommittee for all your hard work. It sounds great.
And David Mills. I think he's okay. Here we go.
Thank you. The only comment I want to make is that when we originally approached this bumper sticker contest, I kind of thought we were going to be going to the students that took part in the Lions Club poster contest 2 years ago. And then I think it was Donna recommended at one of these meetings, what do you mean restricted to that? And so it's been expanded to Bishop Fenwick, St. John's Prep, all of the other various grades and everything. I think that was a wonderful suggestion. It's a wonderful idea. And just so that youngsters know that there is a committee in Danvers doing something, and I think it's a very, very good thing. And so I just wanted to say the expansion was a wonderful idea. I'm glad it's being presented as expanded. I really applaud the committee, the subcommittee who's been doing this work together.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Yes, Bill?
I think our subcommittee was hoping that tonight we would approve, the size of the stickers and the number that we would put up and making it available to all the different stores.
Yeah, that was going to be my question.
Things like the judging and those will take place later, but we could put out all the publicity on it approve right now. We can get going advertising that.
Okay.
So I would move those things that we do an oval sticker 4x6 inches. We produce 500 of them. That the contest will be open to any Danvers resident in grades 6 through 12. Was there something else that I should have added to that?
No, I think that's who it's open to. And then while we will have, one winner of the contest itself, we had talked about also having a online gallery on our website, social media, something like that, that features every single entry for the bumper sticker contest, so that all of the students who submitted a design get it displayed somewhere, and kind of celebrate the different talents we have in the different mediums.
Oh, I know what else we should have added. We had said that we would have a first place prize of $500, and we were recommending a second place of $200 and a third of $100. So,
Bob, I'm sorry, you'll have to unmute yourself. IT has control of my computer right now, fixing some issues.
Okay, go ahead, Bob.
Bob, let me see if I can, there we go.
I suggest that, Bill, you make a motion.
yes, I would move that those things I include the size of the sticker, the 3x oval, 4x6, producing 500 of them. That the contest is open to any Danvers resident in grade 6 to 12 institution. What was the
Second place.
that we have three prizes, $500, $200, and $100.
Okay.
Second.
So there's a motion on the table by Bill Graham, a second by Bob Gamer, to approve the proposal of the bumper sticker subcommittee. And the information will be going out starting October 1st to all our Denver students, grade 6 to 12. Any further discussion? Okay, so I will go down the list of members. We're voting now to, before I go, yes, Sally, you have a question?
You're muted, Sally.
There we go.
What?
Did you have a question?
No, sure.
Oh.
Sorry. I thought we should give an exclamation. I'm forgetting the constraints of this awful Webex thing. Sorry. I was so grateful when we can meet again in person. I find this very challenging. And poor Paul, who has missed now 2 or 3 meetings because of this format. So anyway, I digress. So moved and seconded. I vote yes.
Well, I'm in the roll call now. So Charles Desmond. I need to unmute Charles.
Charles. Yeah, I'm sorry. My computer is being a little weird right now. There we go.
I vote yes.
Bob Gamer.
Approve.
Bill Graham,
Approve.
Donna Hopkins,
I approve.
Sally Cairns,
Yes.
Jorge Sanchez Salazar,
Yes.
David McKenna,
Yes.
and I approve. So thank you very much to the bumper sticker subcommittee for all your hard work. I know you had several meetings, put a lot of thought and work into this, and we really appreciate that. It's important for our kids and our community to come up with ways to show visibility of love and inclusion. Thank you very much. I will now move on the sixth item on the agenda, which is the liaison updates. I'll start by our school committee liaison, Eric Crane. Any updates?
Okay, thank you. We have update. We are in our second week back at school, doing the hybrid system. It has been generally gone well. Most of the feedback from the community has been positive, although I'm sure there are some folks for whom it's not working great. We're mindful of that, and I would encourage anybody who has concerns to reach out to their principal and or their child's teacher. We really want to make it work for everybody, so that's kind of a PSA. The other thing, probably more of interest to this committee, is that we have retained an independent attorney to investigate some of the many issues that were raised over the summer. Excuse me, in some public postings. I obviously cannot say too much about that, except that the attorney who is working with us is very well recommended, has already reached out to start talking with some of us directly about what we, our impressions and what we'd like the investigation to be. So we really want to get to the heart of any issues that are affecting any students, whether it's bullying, whether it's anything to do with racism in any form. And, we expect to have a real investigation with real results. So that's where we are at right now.
Okay, thank you very much. Lieutenant Rob Sullivan.
Thank you. I do actually have a couple of things to present this evening. It's been kind of a busy month and a half for us. I'll start with, we received a report this morning from a Danvers resident that had a Black Lives Matter sign in their front lawn. Sometime overnight last night, when they came up this morning, they discovered it had been taken down and damaged. It's since been put back up. They're able to use the same sign. I know you all have probably seen the reports in the news. This has been happening quite a bit recently in area communities. And it usually also goes hand in hand with the political, the campaign signs. Those often get targeted. But I think this is, when it came in this morning, I believe this is the first type of complaint we've received so far in Danvers. So an officer went out and spoke with the family. It is put back up, and they'll be keeping an extra eye on this particular residence, just to make sure there's nobody in the area overnight trying to cause damage to their property. Another incident we started working on has to do with the remote learning of the remote teaching classes at the high school. We received a report from parents that came in to speak to our officers that in one of these classes, an individual had logged on, and I don't know that we can do it here, but some of them have chat features where you can chat with each other or show chats to everyone in the group. But in this particular class, an individual had logged on and they had typed "kill Kiggers" with a K, Kiggers. After a few minutes later, they sent another message, and it was "kill" and then the N word. So our officers took that report from the parents, who were obviously very upset, and the student involved was very upset. And our school resource officers are working with the school as well as IT to see what can be determined about the sender. There are a number of different platforms that are used to do these types of web meetings, and they all have different capabilities as to everywhere from nothing's logged or captured all the way up to identifying information such as IP addresses or emails could be captured. There's some initial indications that it could be people from outside of the area that did this. It's back when everyone started doing this for work, it became a popular thing to WebEx or Zoom bomb into classes or presentations you weren't invited into. So it's quite possible this was not another student acting badly at school. It could be people from who knows where in the world looking to cause problems or trying to upset our kids. But this is only a few days old. They just started working on that now. It'll take them a while to figure out what information is available from the tech side of things. I also want to share, this is also only a couple of weeks old. Our officers were sent to a local department store. A gentleman called in indicating that he was asked to leave the store because of the color of his skin. So our officers were able to speak with him as well as the assistant manager and the individual clerk. Essentially what happened was this gentleman had come to a store to exchange a couple of items he had purchased. One of them had a tag still attached. The other one did not have a tag. So the store policy was that they could exchange the one with the tag still on, and they declined to exchange the second one. So the customer believed that the clerk or the staff members were rude and not providing the level of service that he was expecting, and asked to get a corporate number so he could file a complaint. And they essentially asked him to leave the store, provided a phone number. However, it turned out to be the phone number directly back to the Danvers store. So he traveled home and called the corporate office to express his displeasure. Finding it was the Danvers store, he returned back to our store, and he called our officers. So our officers were able to speak to him and take his information about what had occurred. They spoke with the manager and assistant manager, both of whom expressed that when they declined to exchange the second item, he became hostile and aggressive. I should also add that when the customer was asked to leave, one of the things that stuck out in his mind that this was done in front of a crowd of white individuals. The customers were black individuals, and that is the point, is where he believed that it was related to race, not in the exchanging of the items, but how it was done and written in front of whom. In speaking with the manager and the sales clerk, they said that as they were expressing the store's policy that they just couldn't assist with that part of the transaction, he became hostile and aggressive towards them, and that is the reason why they asked him to leave. One of the things our officer was able to do is he used his personal cell phone at the store to look up a corporate number for the store and provide it to the gentleman so that he could reach out to the corporate office and not have the complaint go back to the same people at that local store he had already had interaction with. I also want to bring up, so I believe it's the town, I don't know if everyone gets this, it may just be town employees, but the town manager and assistant town manager had put out, they put out a monthly bulletin or a brief about things that are happening within the different divisions of the town. And when I was reading the police department's section this time, one of the things that jumped out is our school resource officers have all recently attended a regional training for positive youth development for school resource officers. It says the training focuses on developing positive outcomes in youth for social skills, civic and cultural competencies, positive attitudes towards community, and a strong sense of identity. What I found interesting and why I brought it up now is kind of in today's time where we're seeing a lot of states or cities and towns or school districts essentially launching all of their school resource officers out. They some of them are described as being militant police officers who are there to do nothing but harm and charge kids criminally. Here in Mass, it is a very different program. It's been very different for quite a while. It's actually by statute that school resource officers are not used as disciplinarians. They've actually, within a couple of years ago with juvenile justice reform, some of the crimes that kids who were behaving badly in school would be charged with were decriminalized. They're no longer crimes. You can't charge kids with just certain behavioral issues and disrupting classrooms and all that. So the focus is really more upon having these officers just provide assistance and mentors in some cases. In a lot of cases, they're involved in sports teams as well. So it seems to have a much better and a more positive impact here locally than some places around the country. So where Steve and Jen had put that in our bulletin, I thought it'd be good to bring up here. We also have a complaint that is going over to the Salem District Court for a clerk's hearing, clerk magistrate to determine if there is a probable cause to issue a criminal complaint. Essentially, it is being written up as a civil rights violation with an underlying offense as threats to commit a crime. This did happen over the summer. It's taken a while to resolve it. We've had some different information coming in. We've had to get a hold of some video and have also run it by the DA's office. But essentially, a couple of customers came into a department store in Danvers, and this is one that I guess not every counter is manned by a person. So it's like a call button, and you push a button, and an employee will show up and assist you. In this case here, the employee arrived, and the alleged victim says that this employee somehow rubbed by her or brushed up against her as she was getting behind the counter to turn the call button off. The alleged victim started making comments like, "Can you say excuse me?" or why did you touch me? The staff member responded, speaking mostly in Spanish. It appears she speaks very little English. So the alleged victim asked to speak to a store manager. The assistant manager came over and began interacting with the employee also in Spanish, which upset the alleged victim. And she said she became angry and demanded to speak to a manager. Her initial report to us was that the store clerk had called her the N-word, and that she alleged that it seemed like the clerk was going to attack her. The alleged victim, her friend, actually recorded part of this incident on her cell phone. So in preparing for tonight, I was able to review the statements from the officers as well as the alleged victim provided an updated or differing version of her original report to the police, as well as review the video. From the video, there are a lot of inconsistencies from the first report to the second report of. The second report that we received from the victim indicates that she was threatened, that the clerk said she was going to take her out in the parking lot and maybe kill her. In reviewing the video, there were three women involved, but the clerk is she's very short, weighs less than 100 pounds. She doesn't really seem to be an intimidating person whatsoever. It doesn't sound like she speaks English, and she kind of just stood there while these two customers, one of them being the alleged victim in the case, were protesting to what their concerns were. And at first, it just seemed mostly that she wasn't speaking English and that she wouldn't apologize for brushing up against her. The alleged victim did talk about the clerk using the N-word, but she does also say that she originally referred to this clerk as a fucking Dominican, is what she called her when she was speaking Spanish. It happens that one of our officers, her dad is Dominican, and her mom, I believe, is a Spanish language teacher. So she grew up in a home where both languages, English and Spanish, are spoken fluently. She was able to review the video, and it does sound like after the clerk was listening to the customer and the alleged victim, she used phrases Punta Negra, Negra, which essentially there's a couple different meanings. It could mean a black bitch or fucking black bitch, and the word Punta literally translates to whore. So it does seem like on both ends there was some pretty vulgar and bad language towards one another. It doesn't seem like the police department is asserting that there was an assault or even an intent to commit an assault or threats as the underlying offense. I think there's also an inconsistency where from our viewing of the video, she does not speak English. And the original complaint was that she did not speak English. But the follow-up report says that in English, she threatened to take me outside and hurt me. That's just not consistent. So we had run this by the district attorney's office. They also cannot assert that there's probable cause to believe that this crime was committed or these acts amount to a civil rights violation. So essentially what they're doing at this point is they're sending all of this information over to the Salem District Court. So a clerk magistrate will conduct a hearing and we'll be able to review the video, we'll be able to review the statements. If the alleged victim in the case does come in, she'll be able to present information to the clerk, and the clerk will make a determination if there's probable cause to take out a criminal complaint for any type of crime. That'll be happening at some time in the future. With the virus, right now they're not doing any hearings at court, and I know actual jury trials won't start until October. So I have no idea when they would actually get back online and get through their backlog, but that will be coming sometime in the coming months. And then the last case that I wanted to present this evening was, I believe, did everyone in the committee get the letter that you had forwarded to Dee and I think myself and Jen from the gentleman?
Rob, are you referring to the letter we received from the Sudan Family Advocacy Group?
Yes. Yep.
So yes, that was forwarded to the group as an FYI. Oh gosh, I think it was 2 weeks ago, maybe last week. I can't remember. I think if anybody needs it, I can forward it again. But yeah, it was sent out.
Okay, I just want to make sure everyone had already seen it. So in getting ready for tonight, I worked with Captain Lovell, who's now the acting chief of police. He pulled the actual 911 calls and the audio recordings from the radio transmission of police officers. And we pulled all the police reports as well as the court file. to do a review. And it seems like the letter, I've broken it down into three separate sections. Essentially, this is a gentleman. It starts out that he came to the United States in 2014. He was a refugee from living essentially as a child from years of war and displacement throughout his childhood and young adulthood in South Sudan. He's come to the U.S. He's earned an associate's degree, and he's also now an American citizen. He volunteers at AmeriCorps and had worked as an aide at the Twin Oaks nursing home in Danvers. And he through an advocate on his behalf was expressing some of his concerns directly with police here in Danvers, and then one with a business that he worked for in Danvers. But the first case he spoke about was he referred to, or the advocate, he through his advocate, was talking about a busy day when he was at Market Basket, and someone had called the police to report him for supposedly breaking into his own car with his groceries. It says the police followed up, and this gentleman was publicly singled out of the crowd of shoppers. So in reviewing the 911 call, there was a young lady who was driving through the lot, and she actually believed she was pulling into park next to him. And it appeared to her that he was trying to break into this car. It is interesting that she actually used the word cars. Oftentimes when we go to car breaks in parking lots, Market Basket, any mall, strip mall, places where people park, get hit all the time, especially any women watching. Stop leaving your purses in your cars when you go to the stores, because they break your windows and they steal everything. So it would be a consistent type of crime for that location. And we, of course, have to go there and find out what's happening. Interestingly, there's a whole school involved with statement analysis and 911 call analysis. What I thought interesting about her was she actually used mistakenly cars, almost indicating he was trying to get in more than one car. But then the rest of her statement did specifically speak about that one car, and she had actually taken a picture of him and his car and his license plate. So it was clear that he wasn't going into a whole bunch. It was just that one car that was she was parked next to, or trying to park next to. She provided a very specific description of him, his height, that he was a black male. He was wearing a gray sweatshirt and a Patriots hat, Patriots baseball hat, as well as the direction that he had just walked away in. She also indicated she did not know if it was his car and he was just having a difficult time getting in, or that he was trying to break in. But it was concerning enough to her that she thought the police should respond and check it out. So because it could have been a crime in progress, 2 police officers are always sent to those types of calls. The officer arrived first. The first arriving officer arrived within moments, and he was able to put the license plate number in. And when you do that, as long as that also brings up an image or a registry image of the licensed operator or the owner of the car. So listening to the tapes, he was able to quickly see the individual, and he said on the radio, "It looks like it's the car owner." So he waved off his backup, not believing this was a crime. I really now just believe it was just this gentleman, but he's still going to follow up and have due diligence to make sure it was his car, and does he need assistance, those types of questions. And as far as being singled out, essentially the officer found the correct person because it was him that was trying to get in his car. He matched the physical description. If the caller were to say he's a 6-foot-tall black man wearing a gray sweatshirt and a New England Patriots hat, they're not going to stop me. They're going to look for somebody who matches that description. Likewise, if they were to say it was a 5'10" white male, athletic build and stunningly handsome, well, they also wouldn't stop me. So, I think they found the right guy that they were looking for. And he explained that what happened was he lost his keys. He locked his keys in his car. So the officer asked him if he needed any assistance, but he had another way of getting in the car, and he simply cleared. So it did not, to us at that point, the officer typed just a brief report to indicate that we went there, and it wasn't a crime. It wasn't a bad guy getting in the car or someone trying to steal something. It was just a shopper who had locked his keys in. As far as being publicly singled out, again, I think it is a crowding shopping store, and he just happened to approach the correct person that he was looking for. The second concern he wrote about was that he had worked at a facility here in Danvers. It was close enough from his home that he could walk to and from his house because he was having trouble with his car at that time. At some point, it doesn't indicate why or what caused him to believe this or feel this, but he through his advocate says he felt hostility towards him on the part of some of the staff. Some sort of an accusation was made against him, and this says that he could not counter, and the facility decided to let him go. They called police officers to be present and filed a restraining order. The letter says that he's a tall black man who asks questions and stands up for himself, but is in no way threatening, but he felt very threatened. It doesn't indicate how or why he felt threatened. I don't know if he's meaning that is because there were police officers there, or if it were staff, or how this termination was carried out. It doesn't indicate what the impression of the threat was. The only thing we have on this is, I believe I found the incident that just shows we sent officers there, and I think it was in 2016. Excuse me. Occasionally, we'll get calls. It's not very often, but occasionally, maybe a couple of times a year, we will get calls to different businesses that ask police officers to stand by at their facilities while they terminate somebody. They usually involve nervousness on the part of the staff for whatever action an individual may take. Very often, there's nothing to suggest it in this case. Very often, there's been some sort of threat or assault or violence or some indication that the person might be dangerous, which causes the facilities to want to have somebody standing by just to make sure they and their staff are safe and nothing happens. We have all seen news reports of workplace shootings. So those are the types of things that they are looking to try and prevent. And again, I have no indication that this was the case with this individual. There's nothing that indicates why they called us, as far other than to assist. As far as the restraining order, they may have issued a no trespass order, simply meaning he can't come back to their property. But a restraining order, so restraining orders that we typically get, domestic abuse prevention orders, and then there's harassment prevention orders, are not something a business can get. They're individuals, and they have to meet certain elements to get them. Nothing in here suggests that this would have been issued. So it may just be a no trespass order. The business wrote a letter saying you're not welcome back on our properties. And that's all I can guess from that interaction. And then the third interaction is, it's written here that in June of this year, he was again shopping at Market Basket, and somebody called the police about him. When he came out of the store, the police were there waiting for him. The reports here, the letter sent to the town says, the accounts of this individual in the police report do not coincide, but the police did not make any effort to check the Market Basket security cameras to substantiate what the 911 caller had reported. They claim to have smelled some alcohol on his breath, arrested him, and one pushed him into the cruiser despite no resistance on James' part. They searched his car and found nothing but groceries. At the station, he was asked to kick the breathalyzer 3 times, and they told the individual at the machine was not working well, but refused to show him the reading. Despite this, the report states that the results showed a limit of 0.08. On this is the basis that he was charged with OUI, he lost his driving privileges, and is possibly facing other consequences. His savings went into hiring a lawyer, and this lawyer does not return his phone calls. The letter expresses that, as we can imagine, these events have been very disheartening and upsetting. And as the committee here develops the focus and activities, we hope that they take these types of events or experiences into account and look at attitudes and assumptions that prevent Danvers from being a community where all can live without fear. This portion here, it's a little different. It is a criminal arrest, but so generally I wouldn't be able to provide much comment on it. But in this case here, we actually have the alleged defendant reaching out to the town committee asking for a review of it. So it provides me a little bit more leeway to give the members of the committee some background. In reviewing this, I was able to pull all of the police reports. I was able to review the court file and the charging documents. One of the things that really kind of jumped out, and we see this a lot, we hear that a police report doesn't reflect how somebody thought or experienced something happened. That can be for a number of different things, and I'm certainly not going to sit here and say that a police officer has never written down anything that wasn't untrue or lied or changed the facts, or as the state police would say, were ordered to change the facts on a recent case. But I think that's a very rare and extreme exception. It is more common that it is very possible for two individuals to experience the same event and live through this event here, a drunk driving arrest, and to have two separate recollections, two separate accounts of what happened. And it doesn't mean that either of them were lying. It doesn't mean the police officer in this case is lying, and it doesn't mean the gentleman who wrote this letter is lying. It means that through their life experiences, what they believe and how they believe things, they see things differently. It's their own truth. It's not to say we need to discredit everything he says or discredit everything the police officer said. In looking at this, I also considered that we do take a lot of people into custody. I looked at the statistics. I don't know why, but the only thing I can find online, I think we do it in a book now, but in 2017, we made 454 arrests. And our arrests vary everything from compliant to polite to high or intoxicated, sick, are having medical problems and need to be transported out in ambulances, people who are belligerent to people who are actually violent and physically assaultive. And we get a whole bunch of different interactions when we book our prisoners. It's always been my experience that the officers are, to the extent that they can be, polite and professional with the individuals. And yes, there are times when we have to, and there's nothing to say in this case we did, use any force, but sometimes force is used to affect arrests or to stop people in booking facilities from hurting themselves or somebody else. And we don't often get a whole heck of a lot of love letters from people we've arrested, thanking us for our hard work. A couple of instances, I did have a case where it was a husband and wife who were addicted to drugs, and they were like a duo of a crime wave from Metro Boston, North Shore, stealing everything in sight, ripping off the elderly, cashing stolen checks and stolen credit cards. And a couple of years ago, I was walking down the street from court, and the husband saw me and stopped me, and he told me how well he's doing. Unfortunately, they went their separate ways. I don't think she's alive anymore, but he's working hard now, gainfully employed, and it was like a positive. Even though I arrested him and charged him with a number of crimes, he did see me and want to reach out and thank me. The reason I present all that is it's very possible that for this gentleman to have been arrested, and there's nothing in here to say there was anything more than a regular drunk driving arrest, but based upon his life experiences, based upon his beliefs, based upon what his friends and family might know, the simple process of being arrested can be very scary. And it's quite possible that, if he grew up in a war-torn country, it's extremely possible that he was terrified and had absolutely no idea what was going to happen to him, or what we might do to him. So just because we're acting in almost like a sterile environment and we're just processing him as another arrestee, that's how we perceive it. He might perceive it extremely differently. He may have had experiences that people are taken in to government facilities or the police station and are never seen again. So I can certainly understand why his perspective may have been different from ours. As to the actual allegation itself, it was simply, it's a 911 caller who believed that a gentleman that she had passed in the parking lot was intoxicated and was stumbling around and needed some help. I believe it was actually dispatched as for them to check on his well-being, not as an initial drunk driver. Just because someone stumbling around doesn't necessarily mean they're intoxicated. They could also be high, but they could also be experiencing a medical problem. They might not need us, they might need an ambulance. So it's obviously something we have to go and check out. So when the officers arrive, he's actually getting into his vehicle and starting to drive away. And in doing so, he drove on a grass median in the parking lot. And then across this particular parking lot has like the concrete blocks for on the side of the road. And he blew out one of his tires. And the officers pulled behind him and with their lights and sirens and tried to stop him. He stopped and actually put the car in reverse and backed up, almost hitting the front end of the cruiser, put it in drive, and then started driving away. He only got about 100 yards, they say, down the road, and he was stopped. It was, from the officer's report, a very straightforward interaction. They determined they smelt what they described as a moderate odor of alcohol on his breath. And what I find interesting about that, it wasn't, the officers didn't try and over embellish and, my God, he was drunk and could reek to booze. They put exactly what they smelled, a moderate odor of alcohol, that his eyes were glassy and bloodshot, that he was unsteady on his feet. That information there, that's the basis of probable cause to make an OUI arrest. You don't need anything after that. Certainly, if you're going to win your case in court, you should have some more information. But that's, at that point, the officer can formulate an opinion that the person was intoxicated to the point where his or her ability to safely operate a motor vehicle had been diminished. And I would say you don't need specialized police training to know this. I could probably guess everyone in the committee has had life experiences where you can see whether it's people out in public or friends or families or coworkers, and it doesn't take much to go, that person's drunk. So I don't think it was anything more than that. They bring him back to the police station, and we have a breath test machine there. And essentially what it shows is that when you do a breath test machine, we have to read, there's like 4 or 5 different forms we have to read there. I think where we get in the statement that we asked him 3 times is because we were required by law to read a specific form to them. And it repeats sort of some of the same information over and over again. It's not that we're trying to pressure or get someone to submit to a test or not. The test does not change the arrest. It doesn't make him any more or less charged. He's already been arrested. But the importance of what the officers try and stress is that if you refuse to take the breath test, your license can be suspended for between 180 days, or at least it will be suspended for at least 180 days, up to life, just for refusing the breath test. If you take the test and you fail it, your license is only suspended for 90 days. So it's important that an operator understands that. It's a decision that's going to affect their license for a very long time. So they make sure to go over that, not to convince them to do something, but they have to understand what their rights are, and if they don't, what they're giving up. The machine also shows what the operator does. And in this particular case, you have to give, so probably nobody here knows, but you have to give 2 breath samples. The reason for that is to make sure the machine is working properly. We're taking the right amount of samples. They're compared to each other. They have to be within a certain tolerance of each other. And then whatever the lowest sample is, that's what actually would be the breath test result. In this case here, the machine actually shows how much the individual blew and for how long. And there's a number of different reasons. Some people just refuse to do it. Some people take the tube and put it in their mouth and pretend to blow, and other ones blow just fine. And in this case here, it does say the machine was not working appropriately. The officer's report does reflect that, and apparently didn't process some paperwork that it was supposed to do, but they were able to manually process that paperwork. The complaint indicates, or the letter indicates, we refuse to show him the result. The screen on the machine is 3.5 inches by 4.5 inches, so it's not very big. It does not display a lot of data, and it does not display a result unless you successfully provide 2 samples. Otherwise, no information is given. And that was the case in this individual. He did not provide 2 successful samples, so there was no result to show him. Also, when you're at the machine, the gentleman would have been, the tube that you blow into, it's less than 4 feet long. So during this entire interaction, he would have been less than 4 feet from the screen that he's saying we didn't show him, but even had we shown him the screen, there's no data on it. And last, I think it's just some confusion on the part of the writer or maybe the gentleman, was that our police report says that it showed that he blew a 0.08, the legal limit or above. That's absolutely false. No place in the police report does it say that, because he didn't provide the 2 samples. We have no way of knowing what his breath test results were. It does not say that in our charging documents. I think where they might be getting that from is when he's arraigned at court, they're given, it's like a miniature version of the statute, like part of the OUI statute, and it talks about operating a motor vehicle while impaired or 0.08 or above. So I think that's where he got that information from. But it's being presented here as the police are asserting he blew over the legal limit. And that's not what our police report, says. And then also that we searched his motor vehicle, and all we found was groceries. His motor vehicle was searched because of policy. If we're to tow somebody's car from any scene of an arrest, we're required to inventory the car. That way somebody can't say, the police towed my car and there was $10,000 cash in the trunk and a bunch of diamonds in the glove box. So we'll write down any valuables. We don't usually leave cash in there. If there's cash in the car, we usually stuff it in their pockets. But that's the reason his car was searched. Nothing specific to him, nothing specific to his arrest, but just that is our procedure for arrests. So I also, the last thing I want to add is I looked up our statistics for OUI arrests. In 2019, we arrested 47 individuals for alleged drunk driving. One of the arrests was identified as a Black female. One of the arrests was identified as a Black male. One of the arrests was identified as a Hispanic female. 18 of the arrests were identified as white females, and 26 arrests were identified as white males. So having all of this in mind, while I do understand and appreciate the gentleman certainly would have a different perspective, than we do, just from his life experience. I do have to object to a number of the assertions or allegations he's made in this that are just factually not true. And I would suggest to the committee members that the fact that the gentleman was arrested was because he was operating a motor vehicle while intoxicated, and nothing more than that. So thank you so much for bearing with me. That's for whatever reason I had multiple this month around, but
Lieutenant Rob Sullivan, thank you. This is really valuable, and we should have ongoing discussions. And I gather some of these incidents are still under review. So as the reviews are completed, you know, if we can provide that with more updates, that would be awesome. Thank you very much. I will have David Mills from the Board of Selectmen if he has a quick update. Returning. Is David still with us?
I hope you can hear me. Can you hear me?
Yeah, a really quick update if you have any, David.
No, very quick. I'm in the car, so I hope this will transmit. I don't have a whole lot from the Board of Selectmen. As people may very well be aware, there is controversy in the community on the issue of the Black Lives flag. And the selectmen held a listening session about 2 weeks ago in the field house of the high school, and it was quite well attended. People spoke for and against the Black Line flag as far as it being on town property and the town vehicle.
I think you mean the thin blue, not the black. Line. Yes, the thin blue line. Yes.
Yeah, the thin blue line. And people probably are aware that the town manager had ordered that the flag be removed from the public vehicles, especially the fire apparatus, and that was resisted and contested. And there was a lot of correspondence back and forth, which is all part of the public record now. And the selectmen listened to both sides publicly and voted publicly 4-1, with Selectman Maureen Bernard was dissenting to approve the action that the town manager took based upon the evidence that the thin blue line flag had been adopted by white terrorist organizations, the Ku Klux Klan, and other vigilante organizations throughout the United States. And in any event, subsequent to that, a group of, I believe, 5 people, former Selectman Keith Lucey, former Selectman Mark Zubrick, former police officer Michael Hagan, let me see who else, a couple of other people, gathered signatures and presented them to the Board of Selectmen at the last meeting with a demand that a special town meeting be held to consider the issue of whether or not the town will vote as a policy to permit the blue line flag on public property, especially public vehicles. And so it is my understanding there's going to be a selectmen's meeting this coming Tuesday night. I don't know if the agenda has been published yet. I know that the town has been taking the administrative necessary actions in order to schedule the special town meeting that has been demanded. And so the issue of whether or not the town vehicle and property will display the blue flag, despite its representation of these 8 groups throughout the country, that will, I think, be scheduled for the town meeting sometime in the next 2 or 3 weeks. So that's about all I know, and there will be a selectmen's meeting on Tuesday, and there'll be more discussion of that. And that was the big
Voigt for any quick update from the Interfaith Partnership.
Yeah, so Danvers Interfaith Partnership will be meeting next month. The committee has taken the summer pretty much off, but we certainly have continued to be in communication with one another in a casual manner. All of the churches, as well as I can speak for Maple Street Church more specifically, has been just attentive to what's been going on in the community and also aware of what's been happening around pandemic needs, different community members that have needs around housing insecurity or food insecurity, and just being present to folks that are lonely or isolated due to isolation because of pandemic issues and concerns. And so the clergy are present, we're around, and we're available. And so if anyone on the committee hears of anyone who has any needs that need to be attended to, we can certainly be available. And so continue to use us and contact us as needs arise.
Thank you. And last but not least, as you know, this is a public meeting, and we did receive a couple of emails that I would like to read here before we adjourn. The first one was from Kid Lucy, and he said, I have a question for the Human Rights and Inclusion Committee. I would like to know when they plan to go back to in-person meeting, as I would like to discuss some issues with them that I feel as thought would be best discussed in person. I reached out to 2 members of the committee. One has agreed to meet with me at some time, and the other, I reached out to 2 members of the committee. One has agreed to meet with me at some time. The other has said he will not be willing to agree with me at this time. So I'm wondering when the committee is planning on going to in-person meetings so I can address the full committee. The current format is not very inclusive. Signed, Kid Lucy. I mean, for that, I would say we are operating right now. I mean, we all know we still have a pandemic, and as a public health worker and as a member of the Board of Health as well, it's a struggle. In-person meetings are a struggle. We are now operating under the remote meeting guidance issued by the town. And I'm sure as soon as that is changed, our in-person meeting will start. I mean, we do have a couple of members who are even unable to join us in this format. So I think it will be a great thing when we are able to meet in person. I did get another email this time from Mr. Kid Lucy again. It says the group that you, I'm sorry, pardon me here. The group that you have mentioned several times tonight is not about hate. It is about respect. Respect for all. Hate has no place on any message from this committee. Doc is exactly right. I think those were the two emails that came down to the public comment section.
Correct, and I have not received any calls.
Eileen, have you received any calls?
I have not, no.
Okay, thank you. Quickly, any new business item number 7 on the agenda? No. Yes, David McKenna.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to bring it to the committee's attention. You probably saw something in the Salem News the other day, but one of my Jewish cemeteries in Peabody, right on the Danvers line, had some vandalism. A couple of benches were broken. was it a act of anti-Semitism or just stupid, mindless vandalism? There's no way of knowing. There was no sign of any graffiti or anything like that to make it definite. So the Peabody police investigated and noted that it could be, but there's no evidence to definitely say it is. However, this temple that owns the cemetery has informed the ADL that it happened. So hopefully there'll be nothing further come from this, but need to be aware of it.
Thank you. Sally Cairns, any new business?
Just a follow-up question there. I guess I'm through you, Dee, to ask Rob, was that vandalism that could have been anti-Semitism, was that reported to the police, or did that come through?
That must be that's gonna be the one of, it's probably the cemetery in 128, just before Peabody, so that would have come into Peabody, it was not sent.
Got it.
Thank you. Donna Hopkins, any new business?
Yes. And not to beat a dead horse, but I was still pretty upset about that rally that was held that was supposed to be showing support for the police department and ended up being a very blatant Trump rally. I know that 2 Peabody police cruisers hit by twice. And I've asked a couple of times whether or not our town manager has sent a letter to Peabody. I was wondering if that's been addressed. And I was also wondering, I heard that there were some issues about selling Trump paraphernalia on town hall property. So I just think as a committee, we should get answers to those questions.
Okay, thank you. We will forward those questions to the town manager.
Thank you.
Any other new business? None. Okay, I need a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, Donna makes a motion. Need a second? Okay, Sally second. Okay. Do I need a roll call to adjourn? I think you're muted.
I'm sorry, I just realized you do need a roll call vote, but we can take like a wave or something as you call names as well.
Okay. So Charles Desmond. Thank you. Bob Gamer. Okay, Bill Graham. Donna Hopkins. Sally Cairns. David McKenna. Jorge Sanchez Salazar. And I'm an I. Thank you very much, Danvers, and good night. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Good night, everybody.
Good night. Thank you, Eileen.